Hey guys, welcome to the Review Show. My name is Austin. Presence is written by David Kep. A family becomes convinced they are not alone after moving into their new home in the suburbs. This movie has been on my radar. I've been actually really looking forward to checking this movie out because I like movies that take risk, and this is definitely a movie that definitely takes risks. It has a similar premise to In a Violent Nature in a way where everything is from the perspective almost of the killer. In this case, it's from the perspective of a ghost. And so it's not really your typical horror film in any way. Now, does it have its kind of core elements where it's like the ghost makes a cold breath and the person's hair blows off, or the ghost goes and destroys a room? Yes, it definitely has that elements to it, but it's a little bit more slower pace and it takes a bit to get to that. But and you don't really get scared in a way when you see the ghost doing it, because it's like, I was like, oh, okay, where's the ghost going? And it's like, oh, it's going to go destroy this person's room. Okay. It's like, but you understand why the ghost is doing it instead of being scared by it. It's kind of somewhat scary in some ways in certain scenes, more of when the humans are in danger. Not really from the ghost itself, but there is some form of danger aspect. And that's kind of where the film becomes a little bit more scary and terrifying, because you're as this ghost, you want to help and stop whatever's happening, but you can't because you're a ghost. So the movie works very well in that aspect and is telling a very dark kind of story where you have a family where one of the kids in the family is dealing with trauma with losing two friends, and dealing with like depression and in that way, and trying to cope with that and trying to move on, and next you see the family struggling how to help their kid, their daughter. The movie is very well invested in that way. Having this ghost being involved in this movie, you're always asking the question of like, why is this ghost here? What's this ghost's purpose? And throughout the film, the mystery of that kind of builds throughout. You want to know the answers to that, and when you get the answers, it's like, oh fuck, oh wow, that's pretty some dark shit. Okay, and all that is really great. But the problem I have with this movie, it kind of, the gimmick, it really is a gimmick. The story from being the perspective from the ghost kind of ruins the movie a tiny bit. Not, it doesn't destroy the movie in any way, but it definitely holds back the movie from a much deeper impact in a way. Really, it's the same issue I had with In a Violent Nature, where it's really cool to see the like basically a Friday 13th movie from Jason's perspective in a way. Like, all that's really cool. But where the movie drags is where you just constantly see the killer walking around through the forest and actually wait for a big moment kill to actually happen, to be, get the like that thrilling moment. It's the same thing here. Like, a lot of the film is the ghost just kind of just hanging out and just either walking through an empty house or following another person. Now sometimes it does have its purpose where the ghost is following a person, and next it's trying to hear what the person is saying and what's going on. Or if the ghost is going to go off and destroy your room because it's angry because you said something that pissed it off. A lot of times where the ghost just kind of just walks around this empty house, and it's just like, okay, why is this happening? Like, I get that, the movie's from the ghost perspective. That's kind of what the ghost, that's what, if you're a ghost, that's probably what you do half the time, is walking around an empty house because you're dead. There's not really much where you can go. But for a movie, it doesn't really add much, especially when mostly the ghost is a camera perspective. Like, you're literally like a first person of the ghost throughout this whole entire movie. It doesn't work especially when the ghost has no form of talking, like no verbal talking. It's not like Nickel Boy, which is a movie I haven't seen, but that's a movie from a person's perspective, first person perspective type of film. But here you're trying to figure out what's the ghost really trying to do. It's kind of hard to get an understanding what's going on in that scene at that moment. So it just feels like it's kind of padding out the runtime, which isn't very much of a runtime, because this movie is like an hour and 20 minutes long, I believe, almost barely even an hour and a half. So it being from the ghost's perspective kind of, hurts what you can do and how you can tell a story, because whenever a character leaves the house and goes off to school or goes off to their job, that's just kind of like, their story is put on pause, and the whole resolution of the movie would have been told better if you were able to go off outside of the house and be more attached in a way to these characters. And it's not like you're not really attached to these characters at all, but there's a lot more that they could have dived into the story that they were going for, because it's not trying to be a scary story, like horror film of a ghost. This ghost is, not really trying to be scary. Every once in a while, the ghost will get pissed off and be like, "All right, fine, you're going to say shit like that about me. I'm going to go destroy your room." But it's not. The ghost is not really trying to be harmful, and so in that way, it's kind of like dull and kind of almost boring in some bits of the film. But for the story that they were trying to go for, there would have been a much more deeper impact if you were able to spend a lot more time with these characters, even when they're not inside the house. So, like, I really did like the movie, and I thought it was really ballsy for it to go with the premise of telling the story the way that it did. But it doesn't mean it doesn't have its flaws. I'm gonna give Presence a B minus. Had a really good time with it. Does have its hiccups there and then, but the story is very impactful, and the performances from everyone, even the ghosts, did a very fantastic job in this movie. And this movie shows that David Koepp still has a lot of great talent in him when it comes to him as a screenwriter, and it makes me very more confident in Jurassic World Rebirth that is coming out later this year. But with that being said, this is a great movie to go out and watch and go out and support. Just knowing this is not going to be a very scary movie. It's more of a drama thriller in a way, and it's going to be slow in certain parts of the film because it's from just one perspective. That's kind of the best way I can say without giving too much away, because the film deals with a lot of stuff, with a lot of trauma and depression in that way, and it handles all that very well. So go out and see it this weekend if you have nothing else to see. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like always, I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye, guys.